welcome to our second Primal Podcast. I'm your host, Matt. This is brought to you by Primal Health and Nutrition, where they are bringing us back to our roots. The entire episode can be downloaded or viewed/listened on YouTube. There's also a transcript if you'd like to go online at primalhn.com. Again, that's primalhn.com, where you can learn much more if you go to the blog. Okay, so last week we reviewed over eggs and emulsifiers, which are on the AIP diet. No-nos list is what some like to call it. And this week we're going to review over fructose and non-nutritive sweeteners, which is kind of the next two items on the list. So a big question that many people ask is, why is only a limited amount of fructose allowed on the autoimmune protocol diet? Well, fructose is sugar. And one of the main reasons we go on the paleo autoimmune protocol diet, AIP diet, is to help regulate sugar intake. This begins by carefully watching the amount of sugar we consume, even if it comes from fruits, which sounds a little crazy, I know, but obviously other sugar choices like chocolate aren't included because one bite would likely put you over the sugar intake limit. And we'll talk about the limit here in a second. Not to mention the sugar contained in a chocolate bar is processed, and though having too much fructose isn't having a good idea, having too much processed sugar is an even worse idea. Well, any processed sugar in general is probably not a great idea. This is why the no sugar added claim is so valuable when evaluating supplements and other products we consume. Unfortunately, many paleo and AIP products out there are actually sneaking in a little bit of fructose and other types of sweeteners that can fool you into believing it's okay, including in their flavors and things like that. They can be, it's pretty difficult to know, but you just need to be careful when you consume something, especially on the AIP diet. You have to pay attention to the way your body reacts, and that's what is always encouraged when living the AIP diet. Each person is their individual, and that's something that's actually pretty cool. Well, it's a good general statement too. The problem, going back to the non-nutritive sweeteners, the problem doesn't necessarily lie with the consuming of fructose. Sorry, not non-nutritive sweeteners, but the fructose. But rather the amount we consume can cause a problem. So many of us probably know fruits and vegetables both contain some fructose, and they're absolutely good for us. Vegetables in particular have a very, minute amount of fructose in them, and so it's kind of difficult to track. However, eating loads and loads of fruit, believing that it's healthy for us, isn't really the way to go. But finding that balance between fruits and vegetables is important as we eat, especially on the AIP diet, and monitoring the amount of fructose. You can easily Google, fruits and vegetables to see how much fructose they have and kind of help you gauge where you need to be. But why is it bad? Okay. And how much fructose can we actually have on the AIP diet per day? Well, I'll tell you. Blood triglyceride concentrations go up when we eat large sums of fructose. And the result, our bodies become resilient and resistant, same thing, to insulin, which then stimulates our appetite and causes weight gain. Okay? In the United States today, and around the world in some places, this has become the norm. And all of us would suspect this. It happens constantly, and several studies have been conducted that suggest those who ingest large quantities of fructose have a much higher risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. So the ugly truth is that things can get quite ugly when people allow their fructose consumption to get out of hand. When we decide to take on the AIP diet, this is something that comes along with the package. And we talk about reintroduction. We'll talk more and more about reintroduction as this goes on, but eventually more, not necessarily fructose, can be consumed, but different types of fructose you may be able to introduce different types of fructose into your diet that could be beneficial, and it won't cause flares in your body as you can. But again, this is an individual type thing. So now we know why, or what causes the problem with fructose, and thankfully, we don't have to live without it. But there is a limited amount that we can have, and that is consumption between 10 and 20 grams of fructose per day. At these amounts, fructose consumption is actually quite healthy. Earlier we talked about insulin resistance. Well, when we consume between 10 and 20 grams of fructose per day, and by the way, we have to be very strict with this, and we have to pay very close attention because, again, fructose can get out of hand real fast. Anyways, once we consume between 10 and 20 grams per day, fructose can begin to reduce blood glucose levels, which will improve insulin sensitivity. So too much glucose can cause insulin resistance, but just the right amount can cause insulin sensitivity. So we got to strike that balance. This, of course, improves our ability to perhaps, well, I guess more like not our ability, but our body's ability to lose weight and maintain a healthier weight. Okay, so now that we've hit the question, now we've kind of taken care of that, let's go into non-nutritive sweeteners. But before I do that, I just want to give a quick plug for our sponsors, Primal Health and Nutrition, because their Paleo Perfection protein not only adheres to paleo, AIP, keto, and the specific carbohydrate diet, but it doesn't have any additional sugars. No sugar added. Okay, which is actually a pretty difficult feat, because so many people out there are accustomed to consuming much sweeter things when they have a smoothie or a shake, especially when you go to the whey side. If you've ever had whey protein or things that are not as great for you, they taste great, right? And we've conditioned our bodies to want that taste. So, but if you want to avoid flavor entirely, some of us that are going in the elimination phase, the AIP diet, you can try the natural Paleo Perfection. Okay, that has no flavor whatsoever, doesn't have anything that's going to cause any problems there either. The cherry chocolate and the new vanilla banana, they have a tinge of organic stevia, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But if you're like me and you like to have something a little more tasty, a healthy treat, you can enjoy the Paleo Perfection cherry chocolate, which actually does taste like chocolate, and that chocolate flavor doesn't come from cocoa but from carob, because as we may have talked about before, carob doesn't cause any inflammation as cocoa does. Okay, and then of course they have their brand new Paleo Perfection vanilla banana flavor, which will actually be released March 2018, but they are accepting pre-orders right now. So go on primalh.com today and order. You can use Primal Podcast, all one word, as a coupon and receive 10% off your first order. Again, that's primalh.com with a coupon code of Primal Podcast. Will get you 10% off your first order. Okay, now on to non-nutritive sweeteners. First off, what is a non-nutritive sweetener? I alluded to it just a second ago, that they are a sweetener that provide a sweet sensation, but with no caloric value. So theoretically, you can consume until the cows come home as much as you want and receive no nutritional value, which is kind of weird, right? Doesn't seem exactly the way things should be. Many of these are pretty well known. You know about, I'm sure you've heard of sucralose, aspartame, xylitol, and anything else that's in the alcohol sugars. These sweeteners can have actually been linked to obesity and metabolic syndrome. The sweetener can toy with the metabolism and hormonal balance, and probably the biggest issue is that perhaps the biggest issue is that people fool themselves and believe they can indulge all they want, overindulge by creating, making some paleo cookies or some AIP paleo goodies with non-nutritive sweetener, and believe that since they've eliminated sugar, they can eat till their heart's content. This, of course, is not true. So the more brazen sweeteners like aspartame can increase oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain, which certainly doesn't bode well for those on the paleo autoimmune diet. Again, we're trying to eliminate inflammation. Thankfully, there are some non-nutritive sweeteners that are better than others, but they are to be used sparingly. And if I were to write this out, I would put it in all caps. Okay? Some are better options than others, like organic sweeteners, like stevia or monk fruit. But these can quickly be overdone. Those living the AIP diet may someday consume stevia and monk fruit extracts after reintroduction. Okay? They're not terrible, but there are some that are terrible. Okay? We just have to be wise in what we choose and how our body reacts. Again, that's the key always when it comes to anything we eat, frankly. So something else we can be mindful of is whenever we're looking at an ingredient panel, we can determine how much non-nutritive sweetener has been added. And by doing this, we look at the order of ingredients. The first ingredient obviously indicates the majority ingredient of the supplement, and the last shows the least. So the non-nutritive sweetener, if a non-nutritive sweetener is coming in before the end, then we likely have a problem. Not to mention, I wouldn't consume anything in the non-nutritive sweetener arena unless it is organic. But again, all in all, the best judge on whether or not we consume this, a non-nutritive sweetener or anything else, is based on our ability to our body's ability to handle it. As we reintroduce organic non-nutritive sweeteners like stevia, we can determine our course of action based on how well we feel after we've eaten it. There really isn't any other way, because we are, again, the experts of our own body. Thank you very much for listening. We hope you found this informative, and we'll see you at the next Primal Podcast. See you later, folks.